Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Hopefully, we had a wonderful week out there and hopefully getting ready for the weekend, which is quickly approaching. And we're going to talk today about a couple of things, but something we're really going to focus on that we haven't in a while is the long range. We're going to kind of talk about that past 7 and 10 day mark here and kind of tell you what we can expect here through the end of October. Personally, this is actually one of my favorite things to forecast is the medium and kind of the long range, especially this time of year. As we get closer to wintertime and we get kind of closer to being able to sniff out these big storm systems, these big mid-latitude cyclones, kind of in the long range. Again, that's one of my favorite parts of meteorology. So we're really going to dive into that today, mainly because there's not a whole lot happening in the near term. So that gives us plenty of time to kind of just talk about what I think might be useful to you folks. Now we will talk about the near term. We do have a storm system out west currently. That is bringing some impactful weather that definitely will need to be discussed. We'll also briefly touch on the tropics, but luckily the tropics have calmed down considerably. And I'm not saying it's the end of hurricane season, but what I am saying is we're getting close. We've only got probably another 2 or 3 week window for a storm to really have a chance to fire up. And right now, nothing really is expected within the next 7 or 10 days. So, that takes out a pretty good chunk of that time, but we will talk about it anyway. All right, with that said, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Like the video. Let me know where you're watching from, and let me know if you have any cool weekend plans coming up as well. Would love to hear that, and just let me know what you're up to. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into things, starting with the tropics. Now, we do have 2 areas that we're watching out here. One just north of Puerto Rico. This area has come down considerably with its chance of development. Could still maybe try to become something, but really, this will be more of just a kind of rain event here through portions of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. Now, out here into the Caribbean, we do have another storm system that is trying to get its act together. This one has actually gone up in its chance of development, but luckily running out of time as this will move into Central America really within the next 48 hours and bring a whole lot of rain there to the Yucatan Peninsula, into Belize, and kind of surrounding areas. So nothing for the United States, but still a couple areas to mention. And just to show it to you on the National Hurricane Center map here, again, 50% chance for that area in orange, 10% for that area in yellow, and nothing else out there to mention throughout the next 7 days. All right, and just to show this to you in another way, these are ensemble projections. This is for the next 10 days from the European and its ensemble members. And you'll notice, again, here's that 10% area we talked about. Here's that 50% area we talked about, and nothing else showing up on the map. This gets us all the way to October 28th, so near Halloween. And again, we have seen storm systems develop in early November. It's not out of the question the first half of November. We'll definitely need to at least keep one eye on the tropics. But again, really kind of getting to that time of year where things are going to probably calm down pretty considerably. But again, still a couple weeks to go, so don't completely let your guard down. But do note that things do look pretty good here on the horizon in the tropics. All right, satellite imagery over the lower 48. Things, again, are relatively quiet right now. We do have this kind of big area of high pressure that's anchored itself over the eastern half of the country, and you'll notice not a cloud in the sky because of it. And you'll even notice kind of if you look at the colors here, notice how it starts really white and then becomes a little bit more gray. That was how cool it was this morning. You could actually see that cold air at the surface on the infrared satellite. Before eventually warming up as the sun has come out. Now, other than that, we do have this big old kind of stalled out frontal boundary that is kind of scraping through southern Florida. So we could see a couple showers and storms here from kind of Lake Okeechobee southward towards the Keys throughout the day today. But other than that, no rain expected east of the Mississippi this afternoon, or really probably tomorrow either. Now, that gets us out west, where there is much more active weather ongoing. This big-time trough dipping down, bringing a lot of cold air and a lot of cloud cover and storm activity, where we're seeing pretty significant winter weather, snowfall totals is probably a better way to word it, here through portions of the Rockies, and a lot of snow on the way through the next couple of days. Also, a severe weather threat with this storm system here through portions of New Mexico and Texas, here through the coming days as well. So definitely an impactful storm system for some folks, but just kind of in a part of the country that we don't really have as high of population numbers. Not to say that those people don't matter, but it's just less likely that people will be impacted as a lot of these storms move over relatively rural areas. All right, we'll start east of the Mississippi. Again, nothing happening here right now. Some showers and storms down here towards the Keys and into the Bahamas, but really Again, a pretty quiet day so far for many of us, and that will be a theme that continues, I think, throughout the next couple of days. Now, out west, again, you'll notice this big time trough creating a good amount of divergence here, even east of the Rockies, kind of through the Great Plains. So we are seeing some shower activity from the Dakotas all the way down towards Texas. But really, the brunt of our vorticity or our circulation is still out here back towards Utah, where you will notice we have some pretty good precipitation showing up here, and a lot of this falling currently as snow into these higher elevations of Utah, Arizona, even back into Colorado, up towards Wyoming and Yellowstone. And because of that, we have plenty of winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories here through this part of the country. Also, kind of a little bit of another front swinging on through the Pacific Northwest, and that is bringing some shower activity that is flaring up just off the coast, and that will move inland throughout the next couple of days. So we'll go ahead and start in the east here. Let me refresh this because we do have a brand new model run that just came out that we will look at together here, but it's really not going to be a lot to show you. So this afternoon, again, the only rain east of the Mississippi likely will be through the state of Florida, especially down into the Keys. I think we'll have some pretty good thunderstorm activity. Could pick up on a good amount of rain there. Also seeing some showers, again, just due to that divergence aloft spreading here over portions of the northern plains here into our afternoon hours. But other than that, again, just a pretty quiet Friday, all things considered. We get into overnight tonight and into tomorrow. High pressure continues to anchor over the eastern half of the country. And you will notice that we do get some showers again to kind of ride around this high pressure here on the northern side, excuse me, through the Dakotas, Nebraska, into Minnesota. But again, nothing really severe with that. No snow with that. No flooding expected, just kind of some dreary, showery conditions. And that'll be the theme even into Saturday afternoon here. Again, it remains quiet outside of some of that precipitation rotating around this high pressure. And then we'll get this all the way into Sunday morning. And again, remaining quiet here for the east. Now, temperature-wise this afternoon, again, very similar to yesterday, probably a couple degrees warmer than we saw yesterday afternoon. So let me get this back ahead. If you were at a high of maybe 65 yesterday, expect maybe 67, 68 today. But the warmest temperatures, again, going to be kind of here into the southern Great Plains. And you'll notice where this boundary is setting up shop, where we're getting that lift and that precipitational ride. Over here into the Dakotas, specifically North Dakota, highs only into the 40s and 50s, where portions of southeastern South Dakota highs up into the 70s. So again, a pretty stout boundary there showing up. That's going to lead to that cloud cover and that precipitation. But overall, a beautiful kind of day for your Friday. And we get into tomorrow morning, much like this morning, chilly for a lot of folks. But you will notice some of these higher temperatures creeping up here into Texas, portions of western Oklahoma, into Kansas. We are going to get a little bit of feed out of the Gulf of Mexico, and this is what could lead to some severe weather, again, into West Texas and eastern New Mexico, as we get just enough instability overlapping with some wind shear. And we'll talk about that in a second, but that could lead to some storm activity. And then Saturday afternoon, another beautiful fall-like day on the horizon. Again, you can pause to find your exact community, but really similar to the past couple of days. And then Sunday morning, again, another chilly one for many of us. All right, so that's the east. That's what's happening here over the next 48 hours. Let's kind of focus out west a little bit more now, and we'll start with that severe weather threat. Again, really starting today here through portions of eastern New Mexico, a marginal risk of severe weather, and I do expect all hazards on the table. So a tornado threat, a large hail threat, and strong straight line wind threat as well here into this part of the country is definitely going to be a real possibility. But luckily, the storms look to be isolated in nature, so not everyone will see these storms, but those of you that do really could pack a punch today as well as tomorrow. Another marginal risk up for really the same areas here. And I would even expand this a little bit. I wouldn't rule out a couple stronger storms getting into kind of portions of the Texas panhandle as well, maybe even the Oklahoma panhandle. So just play it safe again if you're anywhere kind of in or around that marginal risk for today and tomorrow afternoon. All right, so out west, again, the theme today is going to be mountain snow and kind of valley rain and then severe weather. Again, here's our low pressure. Here's the core of it right over the four corners. I mean, could not be parked more over the four corners than it currently is here. And because of that, again, mountain snow through much of the Rockies here and kind of valley rain. You'll even notice some heavier rainfall showing up here kind of down where this cold front is On the southern side of that low pressure here through portions of Arizona. Maybe can't even rule out some of those storms may become kind of strong with some lightning. Definitely gonna probably get some of those picturesque desert thunderstorms this afternoon there through portions of Arizona as that swings on through. But you'll really notice this evening is when the severe weather threat increases through New Mexico. And again, I would even expand this up kind of anywhere into this circled area on your map, having the chance of a strong storm or two this afternoon. Just go ahead and play it safe. Again, if you're anywhere in that area, just know that you do have that shot as we go into this afternoon and evening. But other than that, again, mountain snow continuing, valley rain, and could be heavy at times here, even into portions of southeastern Colorado, again, northern New Mexico. Anywhere in this warm sector, though, gonna have to watch for a storm or two to kind of tap into that instability, even overnight. And then into our Saturday afternoon here, again, more mountain snow, more severe weather as this low pressure kind of just parks over some of the same areas. And I think tomorrow probably going to be a higher end, more widespread severe weather threat than today through much of, again, eastern New Mexico here and into West Texas. You'll notice a lot of that convection firing up. As we get on through our Saturday and then into the overnight, things die down a little bit for our Sunday morning. And at that point, the storm should finally begin to lift kind of up here towards the north and east. All right, and I'll show that to you here, kind of the longer range. Again, here's the storm. This is Sunday morning. Again, kind of still parked over the same areas, but we move this ahead into time, and you'll notice kind of clearing on out of here. Could bring some showers into portions of Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma by Monday morning, but really the storm's going to lose a lot of its upper level support and kind of die out here by the time we get into Monday and Tuesday, and then we clear out into the west by next week. All right, snowfall totals. This is the next 48 hours. Some more snow still likely up through Wyoming. Could not rule out a couple more inches into some of these areas. Maybe even some snow into the higher terrains of Washington State. Again, I forgot to mention this, but kind of that front swinging on through going to bring some overall precipitation and some high elevation snowfall into that part of the country here over the next couple of days. We move things south, a good amount of snow here through the Rockies into Utah. Even these higher elevations of Arizona going to pick up some snow here throughout the next couple of days. But the real winners, I think, are going to be in the state of Colorado, where we could still see 2 to 3 feet of snow here into these mountains here throughout the southwestern part of the state, kind of near Durango. You folks in Denver, Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, not your storm, but the Rockies there between kind of Denver and Edwards here could still see, a good half a foot to a foot of snow on some of those higher peaks. So definitely cold enough for snow in those higher elevations, and very fall-like pattern here with very fall weather into the foothills, and then heavy snow up into the higher terrains. All right, let's kind of talk about the long range a little bit more here, and we will definitely discuss that. Sorry, I was looking at something there. Okay, so again, that storm system pulls on out of here by the middle of this week. This is Tuesday. You'll notice we do have a little bit of a kind of a front kind of sagging through this area. So we will see some cold air try to funnel in behind this low pressure system right here. As again, that kind of becomes the dominant piece of energy, and our former piece of energy kind of dies out as it loses some of that upper level support. But we'll move this further ahead into time, and kind of what happens through the middle of next week. Again, we've got this front sagging down from this low pressure down into Canada. And behind it, we do have a pocket of cold air that is going to try to funnel in for the early part of next week. But really, it's going to be a bit of a glancing blow. And by the time we get to next Wednesday, you'll notice here is kind of the core of that trough. Again, here's kind of our trough axis, very neutrally tilted here. And then we'll fire up some showers, I think, to the east of it, especially through kind of Michigan, eastern Canada, by our Wednesday afternoon here, and could even bring some shower activity through the northeast by maybe next Wednesday and Thursday, and definitely bring some cold air back into the northeast. But this trough is not going to dig nearly as far south as the one we had a week ago. So don't expect a big reinforcing shot of cold air through the Carolinas, Georgia, and areas down into the south. But you folks up into the north, again, a glancing blow here with that trough. And then that kind of swings on out of here, and another area of high pressure anchors itself over the east by a week from now. So a very similar pattern here into the next week that we're kind of seeing right now. And that will definitely be noteworthy. Okay, so let's show this to you on another map, and then let's kind of talk about the long range a little bit because, again, it's been pretty quiet here east of the Mississippi. Many of you are probably wondering, well, when is the next storm? What's it going to look like? And we can't give you, exact details because nobody really knows. But I can give you an idea of when I think the next impactful storm will be and kind of where I think it is likely to be. All right, so let's move this ahead into time a little bit. Again, this is next Wednesday and Thursday. You'll notice things calm down, a lot more zonal flow across the country, but there is this trough that is kind of swinging down out of Canada, just as, a little bit of cold air that's trying to swing on through. That's what I just showed you on the last map. That kind of swings on through. But after that, again, it's right back to zonal flow within the 7 to 10 day range. So this is showing next weekend. You'll notice these isobars are very east to west across the country. Not very meridional, and it is in places. Again, we have kind of this trough out west that is meridional in nature, but across much of the country, again, just kind of these geostrophic flow or zonal flow, as we call it, just meaning not a lot of kinking here in the isobars, meaning not a necessarily warm air mass or necessarily cold air mass, just kind of average, and that is not very conducive for storm development or cyclone development. But I do think that will change in the 10-day range. So again, this is to 7 to 10 days. We get that one kind of trough next week. Next weekend, it becomes, boring again, if you will. But after that, the models are hinting that another big trough could kind of dip into the country in that 10 to 12 day time frame. So this is right around Halloween. This is to end out October. And many of our ensembles are suggesting, once again, another dipping of a trough here back out west. And this could absolutely promote mid-latitude cyclone development here somewhere into the Great Plains, which could lead to some severe weather as well as potentially snow outside of higher terrain. So that's something I think I'm watching for here over kind of the 10 plus day time frame. And another thing I'll add, again, right now the ensemble is showing this dump out west. It could dump out east. It could dump kind of somewhere in between, but they are nonetheless showing another trough to kind of swing on through the country here in the long range. And you'll notice how that kind of lasts for a little bit. And then after that becomes zonal again. You see this also on the 500 millibar wind map, another great tool to look at here to kind of view this. And again, right now things are relatively slow. Here's that one little dip in the jet stream later next week. Again, you'll notice this right here. And just to kind of show or tell you what the significance of this map is, I guess I probably should have started with that. Anywhere that you see these kind of brighter colors, these are stronger winds aloft, which tells us that we have, generally speaking, a temperature gradient. So this is our polar jet stream. And I could get into all the meteorology on how it forms, but that's not super important right now. Really what kind of matters is consider this the dividing line between cold polar air and more average, continental air. So to the north here, obviously up into the poles, it's very cold. To the south, it's warmer and more tropical, we'll say, a type of air mass. So anytime that you see this kind of bending or moving southward or northward, that shows us where that cold air and warm air are kind of fighting each other. And you can see this in the long range, again, where the models were kind of showing that dip. Again, about 10 to 12 days from now, we do get a big dip in this polar jet stream, which could bring a big block of cold air out west. And should we get a storm to kind of form along this, which, is, very possible to happen, and kind of how they form in the first place, that could throw enough precipitation back into some cold air that we could see a winter storm out of that. It is definitely getting late enough at this point into the start of November, and that is something that we will definitely want to watch for. Let's see here. I guess this is kind of the exact same map. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, I see why. So that was the ensemble view. I should mention this was the GFS ensembles. This is the GFS operational run, which I will show you as well, just to show that this has some legs from not only its ensemble members, but its operational run as well. So again, this is next week. This is that one little trough, that shot of cold air. You'll notice that kind of kinking of the isobars or height values further south. But then after that, again, in the 10 to 15 day range, we get a much bigger shot down, and we get kind of what starts as a positively tilted trough. Again, this is well away. This is 10 to 15 days out from now. But again, a big dip, a positively tilted trough, likely storm development along that, and then that becomes negatively tilted in nature. And that would generally indicate a strengthening storm system would probably cross right through the heart of the country here. in that time frame to end out October. Is what this model is showing. So again, nothing set in stone. This is well away from now, but I do think it is a pattern that the models have been relatively consistent on, and something I think could lead to a stronger storm system to kind of end out October. Now, unfortunately, before we get there through the next 10 days, not a lot happening. Rainfall now through, again, the 28th of October. I mean, there is absolutely nothing here going on east of the Mississippi. The only real rain that we're seeing is out into the Rockies with our current storm system, and then up into the Pacific Northwest where we have a couple fronts trying to swing on through. But other than that, folks, I mean, this is about as boring and about as dry of a pattern as you can get, not only rainfall-wise, but snowfall-wise. Snow over the next 10 days, and again, you wouldn't expect a ton of it in October, but still, it wouldn't be out of the question to see it. The only snow we're really seeing show up is out into the Rockies, especially up here in British Columbia. I mean, my oh my, talk about a lot of snow. But anywhere east of the Rockies, no snow of significance is expected through the next 10 days. Again, maybe some mountain flurries in the Northeast next week as that front swings on through. But overall speaking, nothing big time showing up. And because of that, we are becoming slightly concerned about drought. This is the latest drought monitor from yesterday, just got published, and we're already pretty dry for a lot of folks. For example, I'll kind of circle a couple areas, Ohio, West Virginia, down here into Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Well, let me draw that last one a little bit better, kind of down into here, up into here. And again, really just much of the plains in general, we're quite dry and with no rain really expected, again, kind of significance, at least east of this line over the next 10 days. This is only going to worsen, and that does bring up the threat for wildfires and forest fires and any other type of brush fires that may try to get out of control. So that's something we'll definitely need to watch here in the long run, and something that I will definitely keep you updated on. Alrighty, folks. Well, with that said, that's all I got for you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. But right now, things remain relatively quiet, but we are watching the long term for the potential of some sort of mid-latitude cyclone development that could lead to some impactful weather. Alrighty, y'all have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you all tomorrow.